Today we're here with Brian Maier of The Mortgage Box, and we've got a few questions for Brian. Brian, can you, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, we are a mortgage broker, so we are aligned with a whole arsenal of lenders. So we're not tied to one particular lender, but we're able to shop around for the best rates, best programs, and we do that at no additional cost to the client too, because the lender pays us, which is nice. And in a lot of ways, the lenders waive their underwriting fees and admin fees and that sort of thing. So we're able to do most of our loans at no cost. So literally no origination fees, no underwriting fees,
Nice.
no admin fees.
Wow.
And so when borrowers were calculating closing costs for borrowers, it's really just title fees and escrow impounds, because there is no processing, origination, underwriting, admin. So that saves a borrower a lot of money, and a lot more of that then can go towards down payment. The other nice thing is we're able to access the lenders that we're aligned with. We're able to access their wholesale rates, which are generally a little better than the retail rates because of the volume that we send to them. So that's what we do, and we basically, once we know the loan structure and what the client's looking for, we will, whether it's a VA loan, whether it's an FHA loan, whether it's a conventional loan, whether it's a bank statement loan, we know which lenders are best for those loan products. So we're able to help them navigate through that, and we do all the heavy lifting for the client.
So what's your favorite loan program?
Right now, I would say my favorite loan program is a couple of the first-time homebuyer programs that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have. One is called Home Possible, not to be confused with Home Is Possible.
Okay.
So Home Is Possible is a down payment assistance program that
Right.
people are talking about.
Yes.
And it's great because you get the grant money, but there are some disadvantages with the Home Is Possible. You have to generally pay a way higher interest rate. If FHA rates today are 4.25% or 4.5%, on the Home Is Possible, to utilize those grant monies, your rate's usually in the 5.5% to 6%. So
Wow.
borrowers end up paying a lot more to utilize the grant funds. So there is a cost to do the grant program. I like a program called the Home Possible. That's Freddie Mac program for first-time home buyers. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer. There's also the Home Ready program by Fannie Mae. So Home Possible, Home Ready, we use a lot right now for first-time home buyers because it's 3% down. The rates are lower than a standard conventional rate because the pricing doesn't take the same hits. When we price out those loans under the Home Possible, Home Ready program, the loan level price adjustments are not as high as on a standard conventional loan. So if somebody today, if I price them out on the Home Ready or the Home Possible versus the standard conventional loan, let's say they've got a 690 credit score and they're wanting to put 3% down. If I price that out normally with a conventional loan, the rate could be 3/8 to a half higher. But under the Home Possible, Home Ready, those rates are significantly lower. The PMI is lower. And the nice thing is it's 3% down. And one of the things that we're able to do is, let's just use an example. If a borrower was buying a house for, let's say, $250,000, put 3% down, so they're putting $7,500 down. I always tell my agents, don't ask the seller to get closing costs because it lessens your negotiating power. And if there's multiple offers and you're asking for closing costs, you want a clean offer.
Yes.
I always tell my agents too, like the due diligence period. Don't stretch it out so long. A lot of agents say, hey, I want to go 25 days to protect my client. Well, you just scared off the seller and the listing agent, and the other offer beat you out.
Right.
So tighten those up because we can get underwritten approval within a couple of days. Like you don't need 25 days. We move so quickly. So from appraisal, getting the underwritten approval, I always tell my agents, do 15 days on those due diligence. Because my goal is to not have the loan approved by that due diligence period. My goal is to have the loan clear to close in that 15-day period. So when we're at that 15-day due diligence period, we've got the clear to close. We're done. Nobody's waiting on us, and we're just waiting on when everybody wants to close.
So what is your average days to close?
15 days.
Okay, that's amazing.
So from application to clear to close, on average, last year we were right at 15 days.
Wow.
So-
impressive.
It is very,
And
that's the lowest I've heard of.
we could be 7 days. Usually it's because, we have those timelines, right?
Right,
We have
HOA
3
too.
days, we have 3 days for CD, we have, sometimes it's like pulling teeth trying to get documentation from borrowers. Like we're trying to, if it was just, the ball was just on our court, we'd have it done in a week. So we have to rely on HOAs and other people. When we order a HOA certification or something like that, that can take 3 to 5 days just to get something like that back. But one of the nice things that we can do is if somebody's, let's say, doing a $250,000, 3% down, that's $7,500. The agent's not asking the seller to pay closing costs, and since we don't charge lender fees, the closing costs are minimal anyway. The closing costs for a standard typical transaction is about 1.5% to 2% because we don't charge lender fees. So
Yes.
agents asking for 3% for closing costs, that's for lenders that are charging origination fees and a
And
bunch of
scaring off the
garbage.
sellers.
Right.
Exactly. So don't need that much. We only need about 1.5%.
Wow.
And what we're able to do, let's say today's home possible rate was 4.5. I could bump somebody to 4.625 or 4.75, and a quarter bump in rate would have very minimal impact to their payment. But going from 4.5 to 4.75 would give me, on average, about a 1% lender credit that we can push back to the borrower to cover the bulk, if not all of their closing costs.
Oh,
So
nice.
we're able to do a 3% down program, and essentially you don't need to request even the seller to pay closing costs. We can get lender credit to cover almost every penny of closing costs.
Wow. Okay, that sounds like a great program.
And the only difference is they're paying slightly higher on rate to bump that rate up a quarter, but if you do the math on it, the quarter bump in rate is so minimal. And if we can minimize out-of-pocket costs from the borrower, and they're saving thousands of dollars up front, now they can focus on that down payment. As opposed to the Home is Possible grant,
Yes.
they can get a grant to cover the down payment, but you still have the closing cost issue.
And
the
a higher interest rate at some
higher
point.
interest rate and higher closing costs. So
Right.
when you do the Home is Possible program, now you've got origination fees, you've got higher closing costs. So now you are talking more like 3% in closing costs. So you're getting the grant money to pay the down payment, but the borrower's still stuck with 3% in closing costs.
Right.
Yes.
This just kind of reverses it. Now they're coming in with a 3% for the down payment, closing costs are covered, and at a much lower interest rate.
Okay.
So that's one of the programs we really like doing now, and it doesn't work just for 3% down borrowers. I use it for 10% down. Sometimes it prices better even on a 10% down borrower, and it doesn't have to be a first-time home buyer. It just has to be a primary residence. So if somebody owns a house and they're moving to another house and they want to keep this house as a rental, which a lot of my clients do because I try to educate them on keeping their house as a rental,
Yes.
building some
Real
some
estate portfolio.
some cash flow.
Yes.
They can buy the next house as a primary, still own this real estate, and take advantage of this program, which is lower interest rates.
Nice.
And a lot of lenders aren't familiar with how it works, with the lower interest rate and the lower PMI. So it's also a lower PMI factor.
Yeah.
So overall, it just gets their payment
And
lower.
here's what
This
I
is
find.
better than FHA too.
Okay.
I love it. Here's what I find too with buyers, and Michelle, you work with buyers. They disqualify themselves before
Yes.
they don't want to pick up the phone and call a lender.
Well, they're scared. They're scared a lender's going to tell them no, and many times they're qualified, and a lender will find a program for them.
Totally.
Yeah. So Brian, how can people reach you?
Best way to reach me is either phone or email. So my email is Brian, BRIAN, at mortgageboxnv, as in Nevada.com. That's my website as well, mortgageboxnv.com. Or you can just call me at the office anytime, 702-432-5626. And I encourage you, even if you're not sure if you can qualify, just give me a call. We can talk through all of your options. And a lot of times we find, even if a client is not in a position to buy today, there might be a couple tweaks that I can help them with credit score. And it's tax return season. There's some times where I can educate somebody on how their tax return should look this year before they file it, especially for the self-employed borrower that's being super aggressive on their write-offs, right?
Yes.
So I can educate them and say, look, you know, you may want to be careful on your write-offs this year, because in the mortgage world, they look at your net income, not your gross income. So those type of
That's
things,
very good advice.
we can work through all that and come up with a game plan for you, even if you're not quite ready today.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, Brian, thank you so much. Guys, check out the next episode, Ex-Spouses Selling Houses. Until then, adios.